So chapter 249 just dropped and I've noticed a few very interesting things about this chapter. And I feel like this chapter just made me realize how Jujutsu Kaisen could end. And I really wouldn't be surprised if this is how the series is going to end because we've seen it before. So we talked about how Yuta should use his domain against Sukuna and how Sukuna should not have his domain ready yet. And it seems like that was true. So in the past I've also talked about what Yuta's domain would be, and I thought it would be something to do with Rika, since Rika is the one who obviously helps Yuta to copy all these curse techniques. I knew that Yuta's domain would be something to do with copying curse techniques and using all the curse techniques he has ever copied. But the thing that really surprised me and that I didn't even think about is, what if he copies Angel's curse technique that can cancel out any curse technique? It's one of the few things in the entire series that could match the brokenness of Sukuna's ability that casts through the entire world. If you can just cancel everything, then you can kind of match that ability. On top of that, Yuta can also, I'm sure his domain doesn't just use the abilities he has copied, it can also copy Sukuna's abilities if Sukuna does attempt to use some ability. And I feel like the thing that I was expecting Sukuna to do is use his new slash against Yuta, assuming Yuta can't just cancel it with Angel's ability. I feel like Yuta could also copy maybe any attack that is used inside his domain, which would be absolutely insane. In order for Sukuna to beat Yuta at that point, he would just have to go like deep into his bag, and since obviously Sukuna is so much more experienced, like when Yuta was watching Gojo against Sukuna, he couldn't believe what he was watching, and Yuta was just learning something new every minute. So Sukuna just has so much more skill. Yuta has seen a lot of what Sukuna can do, but Sukuna is still cunning, and I feel like he could come up with something. It may be possible that he still has the 10 shot or something that he could do. I think Sukuna for sure still has an ace up his sleeve that would allow him to beat Yuta. It's interesting actually, because even Miyamura says it in the end here that Yuta is the old main character and the new main character coming together to defeat the final villain, which is pretty cool. And he was apparently supposed to be the main character originally, and I'm so glad that he wasn't the main character because I like him much better as a supporting character who is just insanely broken. Because having a main character who's like has these broken abilities and is like beyond talented is so common. But having a side character like Yuta and Gojo is really rare, and I quite enjoy it a lot. And I was also extremely glad to see that Yuji has a new role to play that is really important. I've been saying from the beginning of the fight between Gojo and Sukuna that Yuta was most likely going to land the final blow. But when Gojo lost, I thought they're taking the series in a direction where Yuji is all of a sudden gonna grow and pass Gojo and Sukuna, which I didn't like that much, if I'm being honest. Because I don't mind if he does it in like 30 years, 20 years, he can build up himself to be that strong. But even if Yuta did it or Megumi, it would still seem kind of cheap. I mean, Yuta is the only one who actually kind of could, because he does have that talent. His curse technique, his domain expansion, they're both broken. So now there's still a race though, because it does say that Sukuna's reverse curse technique is coming back. So he can use that to heal his brain and everything, which means he would be able to use his domain expansion again and destroy Yuta's domain. Because obviously Yuta's domain is also a shell and it will get absolutely shredded by Sukuna's domain. And I feel like that might be the thing that saves Sukuna right at the last second before Yuta does anything critical. His domain just kicks in and his reverse curse technique comes back. And then he just, God forbid, shreds Yuta. Okay, so two more interesting things I need to touch on is, I was very surprised to see that Kenjaku died. But first, I'd like to talk about I feel like Yuta kind of has to survive. Yuta and Maki, I don't know what Maki is doing. She's not really getting a lot of time. I feel like she might also be in the squad that is there to finish off Sukuna. Maybe after like Yuji separates Sukuna from Megumi, she comes there with her soul splitter and absolutely decks Sukuna and finishes him. But you know what? Another fascinating thing they talked about in this chapter was apparently Yuji's new ability damages the soul directly. So that hit we saw when Yuji hit Sukuna and Sukuna was like wondering what's going on here. Apparently that hit shook Sukuna's very soul. So Yuji's new abilities are like some soul powers or something like that, which could potentially be absolutely broken. But we know Sukuna also has like some soul defense as well. So these abilities of the soul might even be something that Yuji learned from Sukuna. I'm not sure if it's Yuji's own innate curse technique, because if that's his own innate curse technique, that could be like absolutely ridiculous. A lot of people thought Mahito had the potential to be like on Sukuna's level. I'm not really sure if Mahito could have really gone that far, because Sukuna was like, these really high level guys can somehow protect their souls. Even Nanami was able to instinctively protect his soul. Still fascinating that Yuji's abilities can strike the soul directly. Very interesting. And I'm still waiting on him to get all those abilities of Sukuna, because Gojo said that he would get Sukuna's abilities. I hope that doesn't happen after the series. I mean, I don't want Yuji to become too broken, but I feel like if you kind of put a smoking gun there, you have to use it. But yeah, finally I would like to touch a little bit on the Kenjaku point. So it seems like I was just flat out wrong. This kind of makes me think that Gojo is probably gone as well, if Gege just has a habit of just destroying characters like this without any real clarity or explanation of what exactly happened. Seems like Kenjaku could potentially just be gone just like that, without him having any like closure with Yuji and talking to his father and, you know, why he did this, why he did that. I'm sure we might still get some information about that, but we might not get to see Yuji confront Kenjaku, or to even see Kenjaku have like a real satisfying fight where he uses all his abilities before he goes. Like Kenjaku said, he was glad that his final opponent was Takaba, but he said that he didn't quite fulfill his 1,000-year existence. But so far as we know, it seems that Kenjaku was just stabbed in the brain and he just died. But the thing is, we also needed to see Sukuna against Yuta, because the Queen of Curses against the King of Curses. Unless Kenjaku stole Rika, and obviously that whole story between Gito trying to get Rika comes back full circle where Kenjaku gets Rika and uses it against Sukuna. So overall, this was a very interesting chapter. A lot of massive things happened. And as I've said, this kind of means that Gojo could really be gone for good, because it seems like Gege really will make a character go and disappear just like randomly. Like a similar thing happened with Nobara, and we haven't seen Nobara since. And Nobara didn't clearly die like Toji or Amanai. Like, there's a lot of like mystery surrounding her death and everything. The same thing was with Gojo. It was just like sudden and out of nowhere, and left a lot of speculation and like kind of like a lot of clues that Gojo could come back. And also the same thing with Kenjaku as well, but it seems like Kenjaku is gone, and Nobara seems like she's also gone, since she hasn't really come back into the series at all. And the series is also about to end as well, unless we're gonna see Nobara somehow come back and her, Megumi and Yuji team up together for the last time to take down Sukuna, or to take down Kenjaku's murder, which would be like kind of like a typical shonen ending where you see like Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura come together to take down Kaguya. But either way, it's still very fascinating because we have no idea what could happen. I always love it when series are not too predictable and they don't make it obvious what's gonna happen. So yeah, this is my chapter review. Please drop a sub if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.